What's up, beautiful besties? Welcome into the Divine Feminist by Turning Tides Tarot. My name is Alicia, and we are about to read your Soulful Sunday message. Normally, I do have these coming out a little bit earlier in the day, but I took my son to the fall fair yesterday, so I wasn't really I wasn't really home to do it. I hope you all are having an incredible weekend, and let me know if you've gotten up to anything fun so far. And if you're looking forward to the week ahead, we have the Mystic Monday reading where we take a look at that energy. That'll be coming out tomorrow at the regular time. Now, also, I just wanted to do a little bit of a reminder because I don't know if I've shared this, but I do a weekly reading on Instagram as well. So if you wanna find me there, go ahead and give me a follow. It's not something that I do post on YouTube on any one of the channels. So a unique read, okay? Now let's get into what your soul wants you to know today, bestie. Okay, love. So, Spirit's giving us a whole story here with today's cards. The top row, we have coffin, man, and whip, but in this deck, it's a broom. So this is really about ending a cycle that really once had a huge grip on you, right? For some of you, it's a masculine energy who kept you caught in conflict, okay? It could have been the kind of person who really only showed up when they wanted something and then disappeared when you needed support. It's the kind of maybe it was a boss or maybe it was a partner. I'm not sure for those of you who are tuning in. This person absolutely thrived off of drama. And I feel like they were always keeping you spinning, always feeling like you had to prove yourself. So for other people, it's not a person at all. This could be your own inner drill sergeant, okay? A voice that is telling you like you should have known better, or you're not enough, or you should be trying harder. Spirit's basically saying here it's really time to bury that whip, right? The repetition of shame and conflict does not serve your soul anymore, okay? It doesn't. And with the middle row, we have Scythe, House, and Lily, and this is about cutting through the illusion of comfort. So sometimes what feels safe is really just familiar, okay? So think about that job you stayed in way too long, right? Because it paid the bills, even though every day it drained the friggin' life out of you. Or it could be talking about that relationship where you knew deep down it wasn't love anymore, but the thought of starting over, it felt scarier than staying stuck. The Scythe here is saying, look, Spirit's clearing that energy whether you're ready or not, okay? And the Lily is here to remind you that true peace and real wisdom and long-term harmony come only when you clear out what's rotting, okay? So it's like when you finally clean out that one corner of your house that's piled up with stuff that you've been avoiding, the dread of starting is almost worse than the work itself, right? But once it's gone, you feel so much lighter and you can breathe so much easier, right? And just moving down to the bottom row here, we have Child, Clouds, and Fox. And this is kind of where this new beginning starts coming in, right? But it is a little bit foggy. Clouds here, it says that, you really won't see the whole staircase. I don't know why Spirit's showing me a staircase. You won't see the whole staircase yet, but you don't really need to. And the fox reminds, it kind of reminds me of every time that you've been underestimated, maybe at work or in these relationships or even by family, right? And you had to sharpen your instincts just to survive. You've learned how to spot dishonesty, how to read between the lines, how to really sense the energy in a room before anyone even speaks, okay? And Spirit says these skills aren't for nothing, right? You use them. You get to use them now to protect yourself, okay? To build something new with clarity, right? So imagine starting a new job where you don't know every detail, but you know how to navigate office politics better than anyone, okay? Or you're stepping into a fresh relationship where you're no longer blind to the red flags, okay? That is the energy here. And I feel like there's a little bit more here in some of the diagonal relationships that I'm seeing with Coffin, House, and Fox. This letting go of the idea that, home has to mean keeping your guard up. And Spirit saying, like, you get to create a space where you don't feel like you're walking on eggshells, okay? And with man, house, child, this could be about rewriting some old stories around masculinity, authority, or father, even father figures, okay? Maybe as a child, someone else dictated the rules of what was safe, okay? But now you're building this home, literal or, metaphorical, that feels safe for you. And with whip, house, and clouds, the tension and confusion, of never really knowing whether home or love would bring peace or punishment, that whole fog is lifting now. There's a bigger message here that Spirit's really trying to say. And, I feel like it's the end of what thrives on chaos, okay? You're clearing out clutter. It's physical, emotional, relational, right? And for you to just kind of trust yourself as you're stepping into this chapter it's not perfectly defined just yet, but you don't need the entire, GPS to get started, right? You don't need the whole map. You've got a compass, and that's your intuition. Okay. And, this is the soul's nudge to really stop settling for safety. That's really just stagnation, and to step forward into the kind of peace that that you deserve. I want to say that you deserve, but also the kind of peace that doesn't come with conditions. Okay. I hope that's making sense for some of you. So, I want to know now, what toxic cycle or connection are we finally being called to release for good? Okay. What toxic cycle or connection are we finally being called to release for good? Well, there's Judgment. That's releasing it for good. I'll tell you that. We have the Page of Swords. King of Pentacles. Definitely more masculine energy. So that's just confirmation that it was absolutely something to do with a masculine energy. Okay. Yeah, this is absolutely this masculine energy. Okay. Judgment is basically your wake-up call, right? And Spirit's saying, like, look, you've seen enough, you know enough, and there's really no excuse to go back to sleep on this dynamic. This is really about finally releasing that cycle of power plays, okay, and constant conflict. And the Page of Swords shows me that this energy, or this person, whatever, it never really went away, right? It's the vibe of someone watching from the sidelines, checking your socials, keeping tabs, even showing up in subtle ways just to stir your peace, right? It's immaturity wrapped in curiosity. Like they can't help themselves, even though they pretend they've already moved on, perhaps. And the King of Pentacles here. This is really about someone who wanted control, especially around stability, money, or status, okay? It could have been a partner who made you feel dependent, or a boss who really held your paycheck over your head, right? Or even a father figure whose approval you could never quite earn. And Spirit's exposing the truth underneath it all with the Five of Wands. It was never about love, respect, or collaboration. It was always a competition. Someone needed to be on top here, and that someone could never handle it when it was you. Right? They couldn't. But here's the soul lesson, right? And this is where your power comes in. Spirit let you walk through this dynamic so that you could really see your own worth outside of someone else's approval or control. Okay. You had to learn the difference between authority and domination. You had to feel the sting of competition to really know that Spirit was never that your spirit was never meant to fight for scraps. Okay. And what you really gained here is a hell of a lot of discernment. Okay. Like I said, you can spot manipulation faster than anyone now, right? Like your instincts are super sharp. You know the difference between someone who's building with you and someone who's trying to build on top of you. Okay. And Judgment, right? Again, with Judgment, it's this moment where Spirit hands you the microphone and says, tell the truth about what you survived because it's no longer your burden. Okay. The cycle ends here. And the soul lesson is, you really came out stronger, wiser, and way less willing to let masculine ego decide your worth here. Okay. And that's pretty powerful. And it's right in alignment with our divine feminist messaging. I gotta say, it could even just be the patriarchy, like you're just over it, right? You're no longer participating. Okay. So, my next question Okay, the Chariot. When I say no longer participating, this is like, eat my dust. I'm out of here. Okay, my next question is actually like, how can you really strengthen your trust in yourself as you walk into this next chapter? But I don't think you're walking. It looks like you're running with the Chariot. Three of Swords. Okay. Strengthening your trust in yourself. Let's do that. We have the Two of Pentacles. What's at the bottom of the deck? The Three of Pentacles. Okay. Huh. Well, first things first here. The Chariot is saying that, your trust in yourself is coming from movement. Okay. It's not coming from waiting around for, perfect timing, but for like actually taking the wheel, right? So it's about learning that, confidence it's not a feeling that you wait for. It's something that you earn through action. Okay. And the more, here, let me give you an example. Think about when you first learned how to drive, if you did already, I don't know. But when you first learn how to drive, your hands are like tight on the wheel, your nerves are buzzing, and you're nervous, right? But the more you drive, the steadier your hands become, right? So Spirit's basically saying it's the same here, right? You build trust in yourself by doing the thing, even when your like knees are shaking. Okay, so it is by this movement, like forcing yourself to kind of to move ahead, right? And the Three of Swords here, it tells me, what blocks a little bit of that trust is heartbreak and disappointment. Okay, it's those times when you put yourself out there, right? And maybe you trusted too quickly, okay? Or you made a choice that ended in pain. Okay, either way, the wound is whispering to you like a little thing in your ear. It's like, you see, you can't trust anyone. You can't trust yourself, right? But Spirit's really flipping the script. Every heartbreak was actually a lesson in discernment. Okay, that betrayal, it taught you what red flags feel like in your body. And that failed, maybe that failed job or that collapsed plan showed you resilience that you didn't know you had. Okay, so strengthening your trust now means reframing this heartbreak as proof of your survival. Okay, not evidence of your failure. And that's like, it's proof of your survival and your resilience, right? Of course, we don't all want to be resilient. We just want to be able to be soft and be at peace. And I get that. I can hear someone screaming, I'm so sick and tired of being strong. And I get it. I do get it. But your discernment is on point now. And that's something that, is very important, okay, as we move forward in life, right? But let's move on. We have the Two of Pentacles here. And this is it's a constant juggling act. Okay. You've been trying to balance way too many voices in your head. I gotta be real, bestie. Your intuition, it could be also versus like other people's opinions, or your dreams versus your responsibilities here. Okay. And Spirit says, you really strengthen your trust by choosing alignment over balance. Like, you don't have to spin every plate in the air. Drop the ones that aren't yours to carry. Okay. And suddenly you're going to see how steady your own rhythm actually is. And finally, with this Three of Pentacles under the deck, Spirit's reminding you that, even though this is about trusting yourself, you don't have to do it all alone, right? Collaboration doesn't mean you give your power away. It means surrounding yourself with people who actually want to build with you, not against you. If you've ever been part of a team where everyone pulled their weight, you know how much easier it is to move forward, right? So trust in yourself grows when you know you've chosen the right allies as well. So surrounding yourself with the right people. And to bring it back to like a soul lesson here, just know that trust doesn't come from being flawless or never failing again. It really comes from, honoring what you've already survived, learning from the pain, and letting those lessons really guide you forward. You've already proven you can survive the storm, right? So now it's about trusting yourself to steer towards sunshine. Okay. But I do have one more question for our Soulful Sunday. I want to know, what deeper wisdom will we discover once, we stop clinging to any old illusions of safety, okay? Because that was a big theme in the Lenormand spread here too, right? Staying somewhere just because, right? Just because it was familiar or felt safe. Or it doesn't even have to feel safe. It just felt familiar. Okay. So what deeper wisdom will we discover once we stop clinging to old illusions of safety and really just take control? We have the Four of Swords here. The Nine of Swords. Oh, come on. Oh, come on. The Six of Cups. And then at the bottom of the deck, we have the Emperor, which is really quite interesting because that's that masculine energy coming through again. Okay, okay, but in a different way. Actually, I'm kind of here for this energy. I kind of am now that I've tuned into it because I feel like, Spirit's just saying like enough of this survival mode. Okay, let's remember who the F you are. Okay, let's remember who the F you are. Because the Four of Swords, it does tell me that the deeper wisdom will come in some stillness and some quiet time. Once you stop clinging to any of these old illusions of safety, right? Like staying in jobs, relationships, or patterns that only look stable on the surface, you'll finally be able to rest without fear. Okay, think about it. How many times have you been exhausted but couldn't even relax because your brain was like scanning for the next shoe to drop? Okay, Spirit saying here the wisdom comes when you realize true safety isn't in control, it's in knowing that you can face whatever comes next, right? And the Nine of Swords, it shows that these old illusions really kept you trapped in worry and like some low key panic, right? You may have thought, you were protecting yourself by playing it safe, but really you were just replaying every worst case scenario in your head, right? Spirit's wisdom here is that fear doesn't prevent pain, it actually only prolongs it. So when you stop clinging to the full safety nets, right, the nightmares start to lose their grip. Okay. And the Six of Cups brings in this like healing and innocence. And, I feel like you're really going to rediscover wisdom from your past, not the trauma, okay, but the truth that existed before it. That little version of you who really believed in magic, who trusted that good things could happen, who wasn't weighed down by cynicism. That little you still lives, right? It's still in you. And when you stop clinging to these old illusions of safety, you really open the door to reconnecting with that essence. And that's where your deepest wisdom lies, in remembering who you were before the world told you who to be. Okay. And as for this Emperor anchoring this whole spread at the bottom of the deck, like absolutely it can point to the masculine, right? But here it feels like this is your own inner authority. Okay. Spirit saying, the wisdom that you'll gain is that you are the foundation that you've been searching for, right? You don't need someone else's rules, someone else's approval, or anyone else's structure to feel that sense of security. The Emperor is you reclaiming your power, sitting on your throne, and sitting on your own throne, and knowing that you can lead your life without apology. So, besties, to wrap it up, the Soulful Sunday, the whole lesson here, the whole message is like when you release this illusion of safety that was never really safe, you really gain that wisdom and that real stability. You understand that it comes from within, right? You stop surviving and you start thriving, you start ruling, right? And you just stop honestly giving a F what anybody has to say or think or whatever about what it is that you do in your own world. So I'm hoping that this was a message you needed to hear today. You can always let me know in the comments. And I will be back with the Mystic Monday reading for the look ahead. I think we'll use the Kipper deck on that one, and then we'll expand with tarot as per usual. And yeah, I hope you all have a very blessed day, and thanks for being here with me. Take care. Sending lots of love. Bye.